Chef Keith here at Calam Catering. I just wanted to say hello to all of our Calam residents. Today I'm going to do another demonstration. I'm going to demonstrate a Chicken Cordon Bleu, which, as you know, is chicken stuffed with ham and cheese. But you could essentially stuff this with anything you'd like. You can buy your frozen broccoli and thaw it out, some cheddar cheese, and stuff it in there. I did a few steps to save some time, so I've already pre-toasted my breadcrumbs right here. I also have a little in a bowl. We're going to do two different kind of methods. One with a quick dredge and one the regular way. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to do is get your about 6 to 7 ounce chicken breast, and you're going to slice a hole into it to put your stuffing. I'm going to trim off just anything like that, any weird stuff. So I'm just going to take our boning knife and set it right into the center there. Obviously you don't want to go all the way through the chicken breast. You just want to be able to make a nice little pocket so you can put your stuffing. Go ahead and I went ahead and picked up 3 chicken breasts. We're going to go ahead and do 2 of them right now. So you just want kind of a pocket like that where you can shove in your ham and your cheese. And what I like to do is I'll roll up the ham and cheese and just toss it in there. Put some toothpicks in there to hold everything in place. So I went ahead, I have 3 slices of ham, 2 slices of Swiss cheese. We're just going to kind of roll that up. Just going to shove it in there. If it's too much, then you can always just take a piece out. But the cheese is going to melt down. So I'm just going to secure that with a couple of toothpicks. One. Now, and I have done this the harder way, where you pound out your chicken, you roll it up, you freeze it. It's definitely much time consuming. We're going to go ahead and do our second one here. The inside of this breast, a little tiny bit smaller hole, so I'm going to give that a shove in there. As you can see, it's stuffed in there all the way. That cheese will be oozing out. Secure it again with a couple of toothpicks. Now there's 2 different methods I'm going to show you on the dredging. So we're going to use your typical egg wash, but you mix a little bit of your flour in with your egg wash. So just like that. Now these 2 methods of dredging, here is a super simple one. I already had mixed my my flour and my eggs. We're just gonna, I didn't really stir it yet. So we're just gonna stir it, break up all that flour. Okay. We're going to go ahead into the egg wash in this one. Just roll it around. And then we're going to roll it into the pancakes breadcrumbs, sprinkle it on top, give it a nice pat. Super, super easy. You know, and in my kitchen, I always have some pre-toasted breadcrumbs on hand in like a flour bin where you would store your flour and whatnot, or your plain breadcrumbs. I always have one on the side of just toasted breadcrumbs. It saves a lot of time in the kitchen. So there's the one way. As you can see, that was super easy also. And here's another method. You take your mayonnaise. I learned this technique when I was at the Hilton. We used to do this with salmon, pork chops, all kinds of stuff. But this makes it relatively easy also. No eggs involved. You're just going to mix your mayonnaise and your mustard together, or say if you wanted to use herbs or whatnot. And then you just put this on your chicken breast, you spread it out, and then you'll sprinkle your breadcrumbs on top of this. Looks like I might have lost a toothpick here. Let me see if I can get that back in there. This one had quite a bit of stuffing in it. That's why I went with one less piece. When I get down to the sides, you just won't do the bottom on this one like you rolled that one all the way around. Just kind of like that. And then we're going to sprinkle it with some breadcrumbs, toasted breadcrumbs, right on top. Then we're going to pop this in a preheated oven. Cook it for about 25-30 minutes until your meat thermometer reaches 165 degrees. Now there's the super simple way. Your ham and stuff is still poking out there, but it's going to cook up really nice. You can add some fresh herbs or parsley on top if you'd like, whichever. We're also going to do a kind of a cheater way of your own or your homemade wild rice. Instead of going out and buying wild rice, say you have some rice in the pantry, and we'll just mix up a real quick blend. Again, my wife kind of gets frustrated with me because I have several different mixes ready to go, but when I whip out dinner in just a few minutes, and it's a really nice dinner, then she gets it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get cleaned up here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started on the wild rice, and we're going to serve this with a Dijon cream sauce. We'll be right back. Okay folks, we're back. In this pot here, we're going to go ahead and get started on our rice, and then while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and get started on our cream sauce. It's a Dijon cream sauce. So for the rice, it's 1 cup of your white rice, and I believe it's 1/4 cup of your black long grain rice. We're going to go ahead and get started with the water. I've already warmed my pot a little bit. And what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my butter, my seasoning. I'm going to give that a quick whisk. I'm going to whisk that up so it mixes really well. Turn my pot back on, and then we're going to add the rice. Bring it to a boil. Turn it down to a simmer. Cover it and let it simmer. Rice typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes to cook on the stovetop. So we got that in there. Go ahead and add our rice. And if you notice throughout this recipe, I've used 1 boning knife, a cutting board, 1 whisk that I washed off. Really super simple, and we're using 2 pots. So it's relatively quick and easy recipe, but it does seem like you spent all day in the kitchen doing it. So while this is coming up to a boil, it's almost there, it's getting to a gentle simmer. We're going to turn this pot on. We're going to get started with our Dijon cream sauce. Super easy also. Okay, for this recipe, we're going to go ahead and get started with a couple teaspoons of butter. We're going to let that melt. And then we're going to go ahead and stir together the flour, essentially making a roux. Okay. I don't know if you know a tidbit of history on Chicken Cordon Bleu. It just kind of evolved within time. But back in about like the 1500s or so, there was King Edward or King Henry III, I'm sorry, that came up with a knighting system to reward his knights. And a blue ribbon was the highest blue ribbon, but there's not really a whole lot of history behind Chicken Cordon Bleu. Alright, so we've come to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. And we're going to turn it down. We're just going to let that cook. Again, that's going to take, probably about 15 to 20 minutes. On that, you don't want to use any like minute rice, because your long grain rice won't cook within time. Okay, so here we have the roux is all done. It's a nice peanut butter type color. Now we're going to whisk in our milk. You could use heavy cream and just reduce your heavy cream until it's nice and creamy. So we're going to go ahead and stir in our milk. At this point, you might want to use a whisk just to break up any flour. And the sauce will thicken as it cools, as most other sauces that have roux and thickeners in it. We're just going to peek in on the rice. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. Give it a quick stir, make sure it's not sticking. Okay. You'll notice your roux is working when it starts getting real nice and bubbly, kind of like if it was heavy cream or whatnot. And then last, we're going to add our Dijon mustard. You can get the regular, but when it comes to Dijon mustard, I really like the Dijon with the grains in it. Or I'll buy both. And then a little bit of Parmesan cheese. So we're going to go ahead, add our Dijon mustard. This really complements the ham a whole lot. Okay, going to turn down the temperature a little bit to a simmer. Just adding that just filled the room with amazing smells. And there you go. I don't know if you can see that. It's nice and it's thick right now, but it will get a little thicker. So when you get going on this and you're mixing everything, don't get worried if it seems like it's going to be a little thin. Okay, just add the Parmesan cheese. We're just going to leave that on warm. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff, and then we're going to let the rice cook. Chicken's almost done out of the oven, and I'll be right with you. Okay folks, off camera I went ahead and I decided we're going to serve this with some fresh green beans. I went ahead and blanched them so they're nice and bright green. We're going to add just a little bit of butter, some salt and pepper. While that butter is melting and seasoning those, we're going to go ahead and get started on the plate. The rice is done. It's nice and fluffy. It tastes great. At this point I wouldn't add any salt or pepper. It's seasoned perfectly. And when you do your wild rice, you want to hold back on the salt a little bit because you are using the chicken bouillon, and sometimes that can be a little salty. So let me turn up the temp on this a little bit. I've pulled my chicken out. It's nice and golden brown. We're going to go ahead and we're going to actually slice it and let it rest for a little bit so the cheese doesn't ooze all out. And I'm just going to slice it at a little bias. Cooked perfectly. There's no pink. You can see the spirals of ham. It's really, really nice. It's juicy. And if you want to save some time, say you know you're going to be doing this one particular day, you can go ahead and pre-stuff your chicken breast. I wouldn't recommend really breading it ahead of time. You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would just bread it the day before. Sometimes the breading wants to get a little mushy. And so we're going to start with a little nice pile of our homemade wild rice right on the plate. We're just going to shingle this out a little bit on the plate, kind of like that. Saute our veg a little bit. Those are done. We're going to turn that off. And then we're going to take this lovely cream sauce that we made. So if you see it's creamy, it did thicken as it sat. Okay. Just want to go down with a little bit of that cream sauce. I'm going to put most of it at one end so you don't hide up all your chicken. This is a serving for one, so I'm just going to put some of them green beans on there. And there you have it, folks. Chicken Cordon Bleu with the Dijon cream sauce and fresh green beans with homemade wild rice.